Hope Channel, changing lives.
Again, and welcome to the Law Chamber, where legal matters are discussed from a Christian perspective. My name is Anita Delight Dankwa, and I'm your hostess for this program. We are live on Hope TV. So if you're on multi-TV, you just switch to Hope TV. And all our social media handles. So you go to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you look for Hope TV. We are also live on the Law Chamber platform. So Law Chamber Ghana. So you go to Facebook, we are there. You can like the page, and then you follow us there. This also means that if you are yet to get home, you can always watch us live. And if, unfortunately, you are not able to watch us, as in last week, you can go back and go and watch us on the page. So just look through the videos, you see what we discussed last week. Last week, we discussed legal matters and the rights of the ordinary person. Today, we are going to look at a little bit of the domestic violence aspect of it. So we labeled today's topic, Things Fall Apart, Domestic and Gender-Based Violence in the Eyes of the Law. Remember, this is a Christian station, so all these discussions are going to be done from a Christian perspective. Very recently, we've heard of women being battered. Chinedu, we heard her, she's dead. We also heard about another lady where the husband burnt the whole house down with the lady and the brother in it. Just last week, a father had, of course, carnal knowledge of the daughter, incest, and the child is pregnant. The man has been, by God's grace, has been sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. But the question is, what happens to the girl? What happens to the baby? So the discussion, we are going to be very practical about it. How do we prevent domestic violence? When you read Genesis 2:24, Matthew 19:5, Ephesians 5:31, it says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." The idea is that they become one flesh. So things are really falling apart now in our society. Where did we go wrong? How do we go back on track? So we're going to have this discussion with three very, very important people. Very, very important, because if you're going to have a discussion on domestic violence, there's no way you can go around these three people. So the first one is lawyer Edna Kuma. Lawyer Edna Kuma is the Executive Director for African Women Lawyers Association, Ghana. And let me just chip this in. She is, and she has been, a lawyer since 1982. Yeah, I can just hear the gasp, right? 1982, where were you? I'm sure your mother hadn't met your father dead. But yes, she's been a lawyer since 1982. Lawyer Edna, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Anita.
Then we have the director herself for Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, DOVSU. We have her here. She is with the Ghana Police Service. She is also a lawyer, and she is Chief Superintendent Owusiwa Chirome. Chief, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
We can have this discussion without having a male perspective to it. Because when the idea came, we had two strong women. We were like, hey, by all means, we should have a man. Because domestic violence is not just against women. Oh, yeah. We have some men who are also abused. So let's have the male perspective to it. So we have our own brother, Robert Suma. Robert is a lawyer. He is also a lecturer at Central University. He's also a company secretary for a lot of companies as well. He is going to bring us the male perspective. So, Robert, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. But just a quick correction.
Yes.
I am no more with Central.
Okay.
I used to be.
You used to be, okay.
Central
okay.
University.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's nice. All right. So, now let's delve into it. Counsel, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So let me start with the only male.
Yeah.
Yes. So, usually when we think of domestic violence, it's against women. Do you think that really, looking at the strength, men are also abused, and if they're abused, how are they abused?
Well, Anita, I agree with you, yes. When we hear the word domestic violence, what really comes in mind is the what do you call it, the vulnerable in communities, and we talk of women. But to the best of my knowledge, the statistics that I have read, dominantly it is the women who suffer this predicament. But we have occasions where we have women also maltreating their husbands within the marriages. So I believe that it goes both ways, and this education should actually go through to all dimensions, both male and female. But I think that to a larger extent, the education should go to the men because they actually maltreat the women.
Thank you. This is why you have said it all. So that when we are going there, it will not be pulled back, right?
Yeah.
We are going to talk about the legal perspective of this topic, because on Monday, consulting room, that's the medical aspect, our sister program, held the medical aspect of it. So we are not going to touch so much on the medical. We are going to touch on the legal. So please bear with us. If you didn't watch the consulting room, you go to Hope Channel on Facebook, scroll through the videos, consulting room, you see the program there, and you follow us there. So let me start. Let me really delve in. Chief, what is domestic violence?
Thank you very much for having me here on the program. So basically, when we talk about domestic violence, under the Domestic Violence Act at 732, we are talking about acts that are committed within the domestic setting, which under the Criminal Offences Act at 29 will constitute threat or harm in any way. And also under the Domestic Violence Act will constitute physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, verbal, psychological abuse, economic abuse, and all forms of behavior that can harm or endanger a person's life. So basically, this is what domestic violence is about under the Domestic Violence Act.
And what are some of the causes? Why will someone say I do and then be beaten?
The causes are many. It's difficult to say this is what really causes, but we can talk about situations where it can lead to. For instance, some people will think that if you are poor, you are in an environment where you don't have money, there is stress and everything, so automatically it should result in abuse. No, it could be a situation. Poverty could create or could lead to abuse, but it doesn't mean automatically that when you are poor, you are abusive. There are people who are rich and they are abusive. So we cannot say poverty is, but we can talk about poverty could lead to abuse or create a situation where people can be abusive. We can also talk about the use of alcohol and drug. It doesn't mean anybody who uses alcohol, who drinks alcohol or uses drugs is abusive, but it can create the environment or could lead to abuse. We also look at sometimes what you see growing up, socialization, what you have been socialized to think or believe, that it's proper for you to beat a woman if you're a man. Yes, some people have been socialized that way. So socialization also can cause people to abuse others. And that's why in the issues of domestic violence, gender-based violence, there's a need for us to re-socialize or recondition the way we think. It's very important because these are learned behaviors. So for instance, if you saw your mother beat your father or vice versa, you will grow up thinking that way. Or if you saw your mother being beaten and you were on the side of your mother, you would say, for me, when I grow up, I'm a woman, I never allow a man to touch me. So taking that position, it can also lead you into that arena where the slightest disagreement, you want to take certain steps that could lead to an abuse. So watching people, the environment you grew up, your socialization and all that can lead to abuse. So we don't have a specific something. So for instance, maybe if we talk about maybe other diseases where doctors can pinpoint and say, this, if you do this, this can cause this. In domestic violence, in gender-based violence, you can't, but we can talk about situations that could lead to, but it's not automatic that it will end that way. And basically, no, we talk about domestic violence, gender-based violence, it has to do with power and its use. Power and control, asserting power to show people that you are in charge. And that's where the economic control comes in, that will lead to an abuse. If somebody has control over the economics in the money, the finances within the home, can't decide to abuse somebody as a result of being in charge of economics.
So it means that everyone has the potential to be abusive?
Yes, it is possible. It is possible that you can. I mean, you grow up in a normal environment, and so you will not see it. So you grow up without thinking that way. But see, maybe along the line, you will begin to associate with other people along the line. Maybe you get into an abusive marriage, and then it can change you, the way you feel, the way you think, if you don't go through counseling. So a woman who goes through an abusive relationship gets into another one without healing. The person who might extend the behavior she experienced to the other partner, or the other way will be the person will be more, excuse my language, like timid, laid back because of the experience. So it is possible for people to be abusive because it's a learned language. It's not something you are born with. Nobody is born with to be abusive. Right. It's something we all learn.
So if you can learn it, it means you can unlearn it.
Exactly.
Thank you. So Robert, let me come back to you. How many acts should one do for the person to be said to be abusive? So if I beat you, one, be paid. I'm not abusive, am I? According to the act. Because I'm thinking that something happened and you made me angry, so I just slapped you just once. Does that make me abusive?
Really, it does. That is what the act actually says. Even a single act, or it might even be trivial in the eye of ordinary people, that, oh, this is just a denial of, let's say, rest. In fact, if you read the act very well, there are certain trivial matters that you might not even consider them to be part of domestic violence. Denying your spouse, for instance, rest. When you go to our villages, you see men following the women, and then they'll be working throughout the whole day. They will not have time to rest. That act actually constitutes domestic violence. So it might be trivial, but in the eye of the law, it can be a single act, it can be several acts put together, it can be trivial, isolated acts, but it still constitutes an abuse.
Then the potential of we all being abusers, one way or the other, is high.
That's true. That's true. Because
what happens you've hit someone before, right? In your own small way.
No, I mean...
Okay, so let's...
Yeah, no, I don't think so. See, if you're talking about growing up as children, maybe getting angry and getting into fights, that's a different ball game together. But as an adult, as adults, when there's a disagreement, you don't go hitting people.
So if you hate someone, it's easy.
Yes, of course. Because how many adults, as a mature person and as a person who knows the law, you don't go around disagreeing with people and hitting people. For disagreement, it happens. You can disagree on issues. And when there's disagreement, you discuss issues. You don't go hitting persons. It's not everybody who will hit somebody for disagreeing with a person. So the fact that you disagree with people doesn't mean you are a potential abuser or you are abusive, no. But people who really hate are abusive. But sometimes, recently I had a discussion with somebody who said, he's never been angry, he doesn't get angry, but the girlfriend annoyed him to a point where, before he realized, he said, look, if you're not careful, I'll just hit you. And he said, before he realized, he said, I'll hit you. And when he was conscious of himself, he just left the room. Because he's never been angry before. He's never hit anybody in his adult life before. So he was wondering what really happened. So that's where the trigger stage. So we always advise people that when you get to a certain point in time, don't wait for the abuse to get to a certain point, trying to say, I'm containing it. Because you might be the one at the receiving end. One day, just one slip, and then before you've hit the person. And it might be very difficult for you to say, oh, I was provoked, for you to get away with it. It might be extremely difficult if it would be possible for you. So it's not everybody who is abusive, no. That I would disagree.
Okay. So according to studies, we are being told that after the lockdown, the home, which was supposed to have been the haven for most people, became the dangerous ground for women.
Yes, it's true.
And the question is, what are some of the practical things one should do, Lawyer Edna, when the person is being abused? What should the person do?
I think you just ask for help. As for like all these women that we hear are dying, they decided to handle it on their own. You can't. Because as my sister said that everybody is prone to be abusive, well, I beg to differ. Because there are some people who have a psychological issue. Because they abuse drugs, they've learned it, the low incomes, low education. So these are all the trigger points. So such people, you don't play with them. They'll become abusive. You know, and because of the cultural setting, like our patriarchal system, I'm the man, I should do this, you are the woman, you should do that. It's gradually eroding, but it's difficult. So with that kind of background, you don't have to stay in, just ask for help, look for help, or run for your life. If you stay in it, you may not wake up the next day, because people are different, because of how they've been socialized, because of the background, psychological setup. You know, domestic violence is a vicious circle. Unless it's broken, the person may not be able to get out of it. So if you think you being there, you are praying, you are doing this to change the person, it may help. Like this Nigerian singer, a lot of them were praying. We heard about 2 years ago, a Ghanaian lady whose husband was a pastor in the US who also died. I'm sure they were just praying, seeing how it will. A lot of women think spiritually they can handle some of these things, but it may be difficult. So just run and ask for help. We have a lot of counselors. The DOFSU is there. Now the Domestic Violence Act, hopefully they'll be able to establish shelters and all that, so you can seek help. Otherwise, you may not wake up the next day.
Okay, so let me just come in here quickly with what Auntie Edna said. When we talk about, I talk about the causes, you see, it is dangerous for us to just conclude and say, if you have low education and you are poor, it means you are abusive. There are people who are poor and have low education, but they respect and cherish their women and children, and they will do them no harm. There are people who have high education, professors or PhD or whoever, but can be abusive and are abusive. So that's why when we talk about causes, we don't really pin it down and say, once you are within the low educational barriers or a bracket, it means you'll be abusive. No. You have the potential. Yes, it could be a trigger.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah,
it could
but it's not a flat.
It's not. Yes, it's not a specific something that once you are poor, once you are less. There are people who are less educated, poor, hungry, but very honest. Just to deviate a bit, and you find somebody who is very rich, but will steal your money. You know, so that's how it is. So it's not black and white. But these could be triggers.
Yes. So please, it's a live show. So if you are watching on any of our social media handles, especially Facebook, just post your question there. We will handle it. If you have a comment as well, please put it there and we'll handle it. And viewer discretion is advised. There'll be some pictures of domestically abused persons. Usually people call them victims, but now we are supposed to call them survivors. They have survived. They have survived something we might not survive if we were in their situation. So please, viewer discretion is advised. There'll be some pictures rolling. So please take note of it. So Auntie Edna says that they should seek for advice. They should run. All things being equal, you are married. You said for better, for worse. You have children. Who do you go to? Where do you seek the help? which institutions in Ghana can indeed help you?
Okay, so there are lots of institutions, including state institutions, and also individuals, but you should also be careful where you go to. You can go obviously to DOFSU, Ghana Police Service. You can go to
where
other
can they
NGOs.
be located?
Oh, we are Ghana Police Service. We are across the country.
So any police station, enter. They have DOFSU in there.
Exactly.
The numbers will be scrolling as well. DOFSU number and all the institutions, their numbers will be scrolling down. Please,
and then we have a hotline.
Yes, the hotline, the free toll line.
Yes. So we have a one-stop center. So and then we have our foundation. We have Pearl Safe Haven. We have FIDA. We have other credible organizations across the country that you can really reach out to for help. And also, one thing that, especially those of us belonging to different religious organizations, when people run to the church, that's where sometimes the problem is. Because sometimes the church will say, okay, God frowns upon, some of the churches, I won't say all churches, some of the churches say God frowns upon divorce and blah, blah, so stay in it, pray, is better for worse. Sometimes even your own parents will say, you see, this is what I went through. Your mother will say, this is what I went through. You see, you and your father, me and your father, you remember, your father and I, you remember what we went through and all that. So take your time. And taking your time means stay in abusive relationship for like 30 years. Because normally they kind of change after 30 years. And
they become weak.
Exactly. When maybe the younger ones do not want them any longer, or maybe they cannot finance these young girls.
They'll come back.
Exactly. Now they come back. So you see, now when their waists are not, you know, I mean, so now that they go back home. And that's the problem. You might not survive that 30 years. And why would you spend 30 years in an abusive relationship? So when we get the opportunity as police, we tell the churches, yes, every relationship must be worked out. I mean, no relationship works out or becomes good automatically. But there should be a cutting point, the cutting off point. And as Madam said, Auntie Edna said, you know, when it comes to the language we use, for instance, when we say oba na enije pepe fia oba ana wari be ye jina oba so it becomes a one-sided effort, but it takes two to make a relationship work. And so when we are advising couples, we should let them know that if there should be peace at home, if the marriage will be strong and healthy, it takes the man and the woman to make it healthy and strong. But if you say it's for you, the woman, to make sure that things are okay at home, peace, and so when your man goes out, they just keep quiet and watch him, then there will be problem. Then it means that the man is at liberty to do whatever he wants to do because society has sanctioned it, but the woman she has to be at the receiving end, containing it and behave well. Yes, behave well. You know, be submissive. Because when it happens, the first question you ask is, what did you do? Exactly. As if you must do something to be beaten. No matter what. The punishment is not beating. So if the person is abusing you verbally, seek help, report, reach out. Because if you don't and you want to say, Obani, I don't want to talk about this, I don't want to do this. One day, you don't know, you get to your boiling point and you hit her. She will come with obvious evidence, which is bruises or some harm done to the body, and yours is verbal. She might deny if actually she did. It's possible the person might say, no, I didn't insult you. Where is your proof? It might be difficult for us to get evidence in your situation, but in her situation, you have bruises all over.
So you can see this picture, right? You see this pretty lady. The boyfriend just poured acid on her because she said she was no longer interested in a relationship. And this is how bad it can get sometimes. This is how bad it can get sometimes. There'll be more pictures, and yes, we'll try and conceal the identity of these ladies. So let's take note of that. And we are still doing the prelims because you're going to delve into the legal aspect. But let's still deal with the prelims. What are some of the consequences, Auntie Edna, of domestic violence?
There are a lot of them. Health issues. Have a lot of health issues. I don't know if I can refer to them. I didn't think you asked me to do that. I brought them because I had a lot of health issues to deal with. You know? Okay, I have a few here. Like, they say it causes serious short and long-term physical, mental, and sexual reproductive health problems for women. Yes. They also affect their children's health, well-being, which leads to high social and economic costs for women, their families and societies. You know? Yes.
Yeah,
Wow. Robert, any
Yes,
other?
yes. You see, the whole concept, I believe that it's men, and for that matter, those who are in the stronger positions, must come to the realization that they need to place value on their spouses. You see, the lack of that mentality, because I believe that if you have an issue with your vehicle, you not just smash the screen.
Yeah.
If there is something wrong in the family, I believe that you will not just take your TV and then throw it away. So the
Some
value...
people smash their TV.
Exactly, because they are not placing value on what they are smashing. So if you place value on your wife, I believe that you will respect the dignity of your wife. You see, one of the things that I see to be very bad outcome of this domestic violation is that when you continue to do that, you are dehumanizing your spouse. It will get to a point that a person will begin to say that I am useless, that is how I am. Beginning to accept a condition because you have so treated her in such a way
that's
that...
what he wants to do.
Yeah, yes. So she will just begin to compare herself.
You are supposed to be inferior. You are supposed to be my helpmate. So be down there. Why do you want to?
That is the point. So when you do that continually, the human nature of your spouse will be taken away. She will begin to look down upon herself. So I think the consequence of these violations are very drastic. Because the wife that you marry, your children, yes.
Yeah, but I wanted to say that sexual violence, particularly during childhood, can lead to increased smoking, substance abuse, and risky sexual behavior.
Yeah, and even that. So just to add to what Auntie Edna said. See, so there are a lot of side effects, negative impacts on the state, on the individual, on society at large, and on the immediate family members. So on the individual, yes, the health issues, just like what we saw on the TV. Some get maimed. I've seen very beautiful women who have been maimed because of an abuse. Right. There's a woman who cannot walk well because the husband caused harm to part of the body, I think spinal area. So now she can't walk well. There are others too who've lost their womb, including children, 10-year-old losing their womb. What it therefore means that such a child can never have children for the rest of her life.
She was abused when she was a child.
She was abused sexually because of that. Some also are infected with HIV, other sexually transmitted diseases. And then on the state too, it means that the state will have to spend more money on health. This is something, domestic violence, gender-based violence are things that can be avoided. You know, health issues that can be avoided so that at least the state can spend the money, divert the money spent on health in paying doctors and providing medication and all that, could channel that money to other places where health issues that you can't avoid. It might happen anyway. And then also on even companies. So for instance, if somebody is abused and you have a client, a staff who is being abused in the office, productivity will be affected. So that's why when we talk about domestic violence, people should not think that it's just happening, affecting just an individual, a woman who is not being submissive to the husband or whoever. Gender-based violence, domestic violence goes beyond, the effect goes beyond the individual. If I am in an office and I'm being abused, what therefore it means is that when I go to the office, I'll spend the productive hours talking about my abuse instead of working. I might even be rude to a client, and you might lose a client because of where I'm coming from, because of the abuse at home. So a cashier, for instance, will come to the office, is supposed to serve somebody, the face, her look, I mean, her demeanor, maybe that day she's in a bad mood because of what she experienced. The customer might not know, and the customer is not interested in your experience. And so her behavior, as a managing director, you'll be sitting in your office, but the behavior of your front line can drive away a client, and you will lose profits because of that. So domestic violence just doesn't affect the individual. And also, where she doesn't drive away a client, or alongside driving away a client, she also spend your hours, which you must pay her productive hours, in the police station. Because she has to go to the police station, wait for a statement to be taken. From the police station, she has to go to the hospital. From the hospital, she has to see other counselors. And these are all hours being spent outside the productive environment. She will be paid at the end of the month as well, but you have not received productivity. So when we talk about gender-based violence, domestic violence, we always try to get companies and individuals and I mean organizations to come on board, not to think about it as just maybe
someone's marital affair inside someone's house.
Yeah, no, it is not.
Because DFID came out 2-3 years ago with the research to analyze the volume or the amount of money lost in Ghana due to domestic violence. It was huge.
So we
may not be aware of it.
We lose
I have
money.
a copy. I was shocked.
Yeah, we lose. So it's not just an individual.
And it affects others as well.
Oh yes, obviously.
So it's a ripple effect, and
So let me. Usually when we speak the English language, I summarize shortly in three. Yeah, discuss it. Near who say what worry? Uti feel ukuno ya de also your ukuno ya de or bow or no or yeah. I can say enye normal. It do be about you say normal enye shame metne musa there be enye normal because. What show man so say okay so be betimi ayo sa what show be around so say okay so e wom aware your ba ne obema I just say it's for life but e do baby na bibi si say the question is say then I just say oh yeah say ne auntie edina kan no timi report it na report ma hwan ura police station be obetimi report it e do baby mo person biti o masem person biti o asem ultimate de call sorry pastors ni be discussing ni yes I advise pastors ni be say e do baby a obi be bone ye oba ho sinti you say for better for worse inti san ko fi onko fi ni san ko bonu ni embo no onwu ana inti ye be discuss further ye be komu ni ehu say e do baby a e just say ya sofo no so eboa say how is it possible? So you can't say in divorce, but are there other practical ways our leaders, our pastors, or be confiding on you are waiting in a born
and if add to that, no, it's better to stay alive for your children. We are not propagating divorce, but for you to die, no, go away so that the children can come and visit you. They have a mother who can take care of in their old age. Like me, I'm always with my mother. Can you imagine me? Yes. Because you need them as you grow older.
That's true.
Then because of marriage, your mother is dead.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a lot of younger ones who've taken me as their mother because their mothers are dead.
Yeah.
And I can see the pain on their face. Sometimes I find it so difficult to mother. But I try.
But there are some people who say that I love it when my husband beats me.
Oh yes,
I love it.
I know about
because
that.
My husband is going to give me. I'm going to get some award.
You know, there's a song like that among
really?
the guns.
Okay, what song is that?
My dear Sumami. My dear Sumami. You know,
what does it mean?
My husband has beaten me, and because he loves me, that's why he beat me and tore all my dresses. Oh yes.
Wow.
So such people need help. Women who
the shock on your face.
Yes, who loves to be beaten, they need help.
They need help.
They need help because growing up, their parents, whoever, a mother or father might have been beating them, or she might have seen the father beating the mother, and whoever who had been doing that, who had been abusive, had said, oh, maybe said, I beat you, I've been beating you because I love you. You see, I love you, I need to correct you. And in correcting, that's the beating. So in that person's mind, sometimes when they grow up, they think when you beat somebody,
and some of them, they're allowed to be beaten, knowing they'll get a reward.
Yes.
Because if they allow the husband to beat them, then they demand, they know they are going to get something from the man. So they'll precipitate the position so the man will beat them. But I think those things are gradually dying down. I mean, the first time we heard, you were shocked.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, it's something that happens. But those people, they need help. It's not a normal situation. So if you are at home,
a few,
if you are at home, and you think your husband beating you means your husband loves you, you need help.
Something.
You need help. Whether the end result is to get a gift from him, you need help. And even if he buys a gift, even if he buys the whole world for you, you still need help because it is not normal.
Yeah, it's not. We'll go for this short commercial break. When we come back, we are going to delve into the legal aspect of this all. We will be right back.
COVID-19 panie beka yi ma wo bi ma wo baako ma wo mienu na wo so wa wo bi abusiafo mo me nyina ntumirika na yenko COVID panie no bi na yade de atietese wiase nyina no bia so onya ayaresa yade no tumirika na ko panie no na baba wo bi no mi se ma wo bi wo baako na wo mienu no a wo ya kyere de wo bi uwa wono se yade no ebetimi ayo de but oyo wo a entimi nha wo se de won obi no de won obi kura no de yade no betimi aha no pa enti tumirika na won so ko COVID panie no bi aya nkrofo be ka se panie henye one de keka ho de be ka se bia no wo daada wo yade ba ye wo panie yade ba ye numaduro na ye ho apeye enti ko na won so ko na wo panie no bi na wo ho nto na hweyie se wo panie no bia enje se yade no wontimi nyewe betimi ayewo enti kowo na de wo bia wo ho de ne kyere de wo wo bi no de wo bi kura no de enye kimi nua ho ho wo bi no sere wo se muntu mirika na monko ko de panie no bi na ye nyina ye nya ho de ne na ye mfa nsom ye mani na ye nya asomdwie.
This message is brought to you by Adventist Development and Relief Agency Ghana in partnership with Hope Channel Ghana.
Nia onyankopon hwehwa ne se onipa bia bedi yie e wasase so. Eno ti adwuma bia wo ye no, wo hia ho nimdie ene nkyerɛkyerɛ papa. Mpanifo se sanwa beba kontomre enkwan ani a na eginemu nam so. Eno nti na Hope Channel edi dwumadi a ye frɛ ne se Business Forum abrewo. Ya wada nwumre no nwotwe bia me kyerɛ 8 pm. Shia me na nakwa misika. Menim panimfo a wa ben no wa dosukɔ e wo sikasemu. Adwadie mu ene enwuma mu besi nkonwa ne ama wo nkyerɛkyerɛ papa a ɛbɛboa wo na nso watimi atumpɔn piao.
Things fall apart. As Chinua Achebe said, things fall apart.
The center
cannot hold. This time, with the help of God and with the help of law, the question is, how do we help for things not to fall totally apart, for the center to hold? There are some questions from our viewers, and so Osei Cranton, the question is, if you hit your partner or child accidentally or involuntarily, would that constitute domestic violence? Robert?
Well,
accidentally.
The qualification of the act presupposes that it was not done intentionally. And you know, when we come to matters of law, I believe that the intent plays a very important role.
What do you have a comment?
So the facts, if that is what he is saying, then of course, in law it would not hold.
Okay. So what he's trying to say is that in law, you need the act and the mind to come together for an act to be said to have taken place.
Yes.
So if the act is there, but the mind wasn't there, it cannot be an offense. The two must come together to be an offense.
Yes.
Right. All right. So how does the law address emotional violence in homes? Can denying one's spouse sexual intimacy for an extended period be classified as domestic violence? So,
yes, it is possible.
It is possible.
Yeah, because if you look at the emotional abuse, the definition is something that constantly makes somebody unhappy, jittery, afraid, you know, feel worthless and all that. So it is possible that, and you know, in such situation, mind you, the law gives room for arbitration. So it's not all cast in stone that when you come, we just take you to court and then it's...
Please, let's stress on that again.
Okay. So the law is not there to say it's cast in stone. So if it's the domestic violence, you come straight court and then straight to jail if you are found guilty. The law allows arbitration depending on the reconciliation.
So what is arbitration?
Okay, so what the law does is that the law allows you to say you can go to ADR.
Courts,
A neutral person to try and settle.
A neutral person to try and settle your issue. So you sit down, there will be an arbiter or a mediator to sit with you, to guide you through the process for you to resolve your issues. And whatever comes out of that resolution, that sitting, that meeting, the court adapts it in court. So it's
as
not
a ruling.
So the fact that you are reporting your husband to the police doesn't mean that your husband will be put in jail.
No, not automatically.
So there's a possibility that the court will say, let's help you settle the matter.
Yes.
They will bring even psychologists, they will bring in neutral people who will help you and your husband resolve the matter. And so why do people think that when I'm going to report my husband to the police station, it means I'm taking the...
A lot of people think that when you report a matter to the police, that's the beginning of the end. And it's true. I keep on asking clients when they come that, please be wary that immediately you go to the police station, know that the man's family is going to be against you. They won't take it lightly at all. You've taken our son to the police station. That's the end of the marriage. Be prepared for it. Not all
but they do not know that there are institutions in there that can give free services for a healthy relationship.
So, Anita, this is where the education should come in place. Because I believe that all the institutions within the states are authorized to play a particular function. In fact, the misconception that the public usually have with regard to reporting matters to police, I think we need to give a very clear education.
Please go ahead.
The reporting a matter to the police station is not conclusive of the fact that you hate the person. In fact, without these state agencies and institutions, the whole world cannot even hold. So when it comes to some of these matters, honestly, the men might be strong, they might have people at their back. You, the weaker vessel, let me put it in quotes, the woman, you have to report. And the good news is that when you report some of these matters, even when it gets to the court, it will be handled within the private, within your privacy. It is not going to be in the open court where your clothes will be washed in the public. So any secret thing within your marriage that you would want resolved, if it borders on the husband not providing food for you, not giving you rest, denying you sexual, matters, all these are within the ambit of domestic violence.
Okay. So there's a question.
Yes.
So there's a question. My husband and I fought several times because he cannot keep his ears in one place. He beats me when I complain. I'll not lie. My man beats the living hell out of me. So at a point, I stopped complaining and decided to cheat on him as well. But all the men I have met so far, no man seems to match his stamina. They just want to satisfy themselves with their small and go away. But my husband, I like that. And that is why I can't leave him no matter what. If he gives me pain in the morning, at night, he is there to give me pleasure. And guess what I love the most? When we fight, when making love. He rapes me, He slaps me and makes everything sweet in the end, especially when I see him lie beside me, embrace me. My husband, I can't go on.
Yeah, so this is somebody who needs help. People are stuck in abusive relations for different reasons. One of them is sex. If I'm allowed to say that on your TV.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of them is sex. Yeah, because it's a religious TV, I need to be careful.
Yeah.
So one of them is sex. So because somebody is addicted to the way somebody is able to have sex with her, she will stay in that relationship. Okay. So such a person needs counseling. With counseling, so when you come to us, for instance, and we detect this, we are not going to start the police investigation straight away, because you yourself, you need help. Without you, we can't proceed. You pose a challenge to us. Along the line, one night when you go today, you come and you are all over wanting to help us with investigations, you know. You go home tonight, your husband has good sex with you, tomorrow morning we'll call you, it's a different story.
You are not more interested.
Exactly.
And then I read somewhere in one of the books, counseling, because I'm also a counselor, that somebody very good in bed does not mean the person loves you.
Of course.
Some people are very good in bed, and that's what some of the women think. Yes. The husband loves them. Your husband being very good to you in bed does not mean love.
No, sex
he can
is not
do it
love.
for somebody else.
Yes.
It's just that he's good in bed.
We have another one, Ata Kwachoa. What people will say is really killing a lot of people in their marital homes. Then again, we are Christians, so we don't do this and that. May we have the courage to move on in all our situations. Is it that because we are Christians?
Yes.
You don't have sex.
Like we are Christians, we divorce, all things being equal is not an option. But looking at the whole situation, Robert, what advice is there for us?
In fact, this is the critical point that we need to actually address our viewers. You know, when we talk about Christ, we are Christian and therefore we are following the precept of Christ. Indeed, when you read the scriptures, even in the olden days, we have situations where we have the refuge camps, where people, those who even commit murder, can run and they are rescued. In fact, the church, in my mind, and according to my understanding of the scripture, is actually supposed to be a place where people can run to for safety. You see, for instance, if the Bible says that love yourself as your neighbor, it is a command. Therefore, your wife, you can't beat your wife because you cannot beat your flesh. And I have read a portion of the scripture where the Bible actually compare anger to murder. If you become extremely angry, the Bible says that don't sin. So if you become angry with somebody, it means that you are causing a murder. And therefore, if that is a sin, and you will not do it, why will you hate somebody? You know, when the Bible says that we should not divorce, the point is that thou shalt not divorce, thou shalt not commit murder. They are all commandments. Is that not they are all commandments. Therefore, if you will hate your wife, it means you are violating a commandment of God.
So let's go quickly. We are about wrapping up. Yes. Let's go through this. Medical free, the Act talks about free medical treatment for persons who are abused. But when we go to our clinics, the doctors will usually say, mention no. And as the doctors will say, bring money. Where does the free medical treatment come in here?
Okay, let me say something on that. With the new act, the provisions and even the regulation, 2016, the domestic violence regulation, there's a very long provision that, you know, the police have been worrying them all the time to really get it out. If the police would use that, and it's so comprehensive, she knows, you get that, and the medical doctor fills his or her portion, the police officer, so you don't need the medical doctor to come to court again. Because they say they are taking that money because of the TNT to go to court and all that. It's so comprehensive. It's about 3 or 4 pages.
Yes, but so the court, you know, somebody has to tender in the evidence in court. And we can't tender it through the policeman, because if you tender the medical form through the policeman, it means that the policeman will have to speak to it. And he is not an expert. So once you tender it in and the defense lawyer wants to do cross-examination on the expert, then, the evidence, then the doctor has to come in. So either way, it's
but there's supposed to be free medical treatment.
The act also says that.
That's what just to clarify the point, that the form alone will not help us get around the doctor's collecting.
No, but the act also provides.
Yes. So if you look at the Hospital Fees Act, I think at 3 something, I'm not sure, but Hospital Fees Act, I think 1972. Yes, so it's there, black and white, section 3, that says that when the state asks for a medical report from the hospital, it should be given free. And it specifically states Attorney General. So police, we do prosecution on behalf of Attorney General. Yes. And offenses are committed against the state.
Yes.
So in that regard, if the policeman goes to the hospital with medical form or gives medical form to the survivor, to the hospital, she's entitled to that free medical report. So let's say that, I mean, we have to call a spade a spade. Yes. So here in Ghana, depending on your profession, when you do something, we have a way of qualifying it and calling it out. But when it has to do, say, with the police, we call it out as a test. So if that be the police, sure. I mean, very honestly.
So the whole thing is that the hospitals are supposed to do it for free. They are not doing the right thing, and we are all quiet about it because we are.
No, I'm not saying we are blaming the police. So what I'm trying to say is that what the doctors are doing is illegal. It is illegal money they are collecting. We shouldn't try and polish it up, because if
that money that the medical doctor is taking for that treatment for domestic violence is illegal. It is.
So because if you go to the Hospital Fees Act, it tells you where you're supposed to pay monies that you're supposed to pay to the hospital. It's cashier. Doctors are not cashier. They pay them to them. They pay monies to them to do what?
So that medical fee is given to the doctor personally.
Yes, it's given to the doctors. The doctors collect it.
No receipts.
Yes, at their consulting room before they sign. And their argument is, let me give this take this opportunity to give some education. So if you look at the Court Act, the Act makes provisions for the witnesses. So if you're a doctor and you come to the court, all you need to do, so we always encourage doctors that let the court subpoena you. Tell the prosecutor to subpoena you to court. Now, when you are subpoenaed to court, you send the form after every court to the registrar. They endorse it. At the end of your evidence, they will calculate the distance, the money based on your distance, and then they give you your check. Yes, the court will pay you. So there is a facility for the doctors to withdraw from
the courts.
From the courts. Sadly, some of the argument that I've heard over time is that some of them have been like, because the money is too small and it will take a long time for them to take the money, and that's not good.
So argument. We should call the doctors out.
Yes,
especially the state hospitals. We have to. So there's another part I want us to tackle quickly, and it's about we call it the occupation order. Most often than not, when you are the woman or the man is being abused, the person thinks, when I go and report the person, where will I go? Where will I go and stay? Where will I go and where will I go? But we have in the Act, specifically, Section 20 states that it's when the court can order for the abused to rather vacate the building. So it's possible that the building is for the accused, or he is renting the place. But he will leave and you will stay. But often you're thinking,
and the landlady is not supposed to eject you.
Eject the person.
Yes, it's there.
Yes, you see, that is the good news about the whole of the Domestic Violence Act. The interim orders, where the person's life is under stake, and then they make orders, and then providing accommodation. They will provide accommodation. If even you are renting, the court will order him to pay the rent. they will provide for the children what they will eat, their maintenance in the course of that separation. So it is very important that we should not think about hardship and remain in a very abusive families. Go and report. The law will take its course. They will order separation. Separation is good. That is what I want my fellow Christians to understand. Separation is not the same as divorce.
We'll talk about separation and divorce as a whole topic.
Okay.
Yes.
So your final words.
So let me
That's a whole topic. Separation and divorce. It's a whole topic. We'll discuss it.
Do you have separation now?
So
no, we don't have separation.
We'll come. It's a whole topic. We'll come to that.
Okay.
So your final words.
Okay.
Final
So just
words,
before my final word, just to chip in. So from security point
Our
of
time
view.
is up.
Okay. So from security point of view, sometimes you might not encourage you to go for protection order to stay in that house because of your own safety. So that's and just my final words. Let me put out the number.
Yes.
Yes,
Please.
please.
Yes, so it's 0800 000 900.
Again, please.
0800 000-900.
It's a toll-free number. So you call it, it's for free.
Yes. So we want to encourage everybody in an abusive relationship. Please reach out. It's not normal to be in an abusive relationship. Reach out to the police. Reach out to other NGOs within that space. Reach out to a counselor. It is better to reach out and stay out of the abusive environment and get help. Sometimes, in fact, in reaching out to the police, you even get help for your husband, because your husband, for all you know, might need help. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
what I can say, the Domestic
yes.
Violence Act provides for not only marriages, past relationships. You know, they come back trying to hit you and make you pay for the past. The Domestic Violence Act protects you. Boyfriend, girlfriends, the Act protects you. People living in compound houses, the Act protects you. Family, it's domestic, domestic setting.
Yeah.
The big crimes, the criminal code caters for them. But this one is crime under 2 years old. So people shouldn't be afraid. There's room for reconciliation. They can give you protection orders at most 3 months, interim, final, occupation order. There are so many provisions under the Act. If only the police will start utilizing it, so that people.
This one, I'll not let you batter yourself. When we are done,
we use it. No, that's we use it, and then also it's not when it's aggravated. We don't stay under the Domestic Violence Act.
Right.
If it's aggravated, we move and
please understand, okay? Chief Superintendent is from on one side. Madam is NGO, another side, you see, so understand. Robert, final,
yes.
short,
you see,
short, very short.
The thing is that Ghana has one of the best legislative regimes. You know, the law legislates conduct. Don't do this, don't do that. It doesn't legislate against behavior. This is where I call on the church and institutions to do more public education. We need to teach our people that, look, respect your fellow human being. Put value on your wife. Put value on your child. They are not chattels. Unlike the previous years where we deal women as if they have been bought and we are the masters. This is the time that we have to call upon the Christian world that we are to go and preach the word. Change conduct. We have the best opportunities on Sundays and Saturdays and speak to the conduct and behaviors of people. The law might legislate against conduct, but the behavior lies in the church. It lies at our workplaces. Let us inculcate best attitudes in people, and our families will change. The law will do it best, but we have to make it work.
We have to make it work. So you are not being abused. Someone is being abused. You are quiet. It's being reported to you. You are quiet. You do not care. Because I'm saying a tree. So it's not you. So you are quiet about it. But so please speak out, help, support, and hopefully, all things being equal, it will be well with us. We will be discussing a lot during the subsequent weeks. And please, if you have any topic you want us to discuss legally, please, you can put it on any of our platforms. We'll discuss it. To conclude, Malachi 2:16 says, "For I hate divorce, says the Lord God of Israel, and him who covers his garment with violence, says the Lord of armies." The Lord hates divorce. That same God hates violence. So if you love God, violence will not be a part of you. Please stay safe and be well. Until next week, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Please be safe. Bye-bye.